Hi, today I'm going to show you my tier list of traits in Age of Wonders 4. I'm going to start with the body traits. Now, the first trait on the list is Bulwark. It provides extra protection in defense mode. It's a good trait, but because it's a defensive trait, I'm not going to rate it very highly. I'm going to put it in the B tier. The next trait on the list is Fast Recuperation. It provides extra regeneration, plus 5 hit points per whole map turn, which is okay, but not amazing. Also, B tier. Now the next trait is Hearty. It provides extra 10 hit points for all of your units. I think it's an amazing trait. I'm going to put it in S tier. It's really good to have your units more hit points. The next one on the list is Keen-Sighted. Plus 20% accuracy on physical ranged and magic attacks. Amazing trait, especially if you're going ranged heavy army. S tier trait. The next trait on the list is Quick Reflexes. It provides 30% harder chance to hit by ranged attacks. Amazing trait, also S tier. If you intend to go against an enemy that have a lot of ranged units, your units just become much harder to hit. The next trait on the list is Resilient. Resilient provides extra 3 status resistance. Now, it's a defensive trait and it's not going to help you in the early game at all, so I'm not going to rate it highly at all. C tier trait. Next trait is Resistant. Resistant also an okay trait, not going to provide you a lot of bonuses in the early game, probably more useful in the late game, so C tier. Resolute provides Resolute trait means negative status effects last one turn less. D tier, not going to help you at all. Probably a little bit in the late game, but it's just a bad trait. Next one is Throne, plus 10% on melee damage. A very good trait. Let's say you're going Barbarian, really good to deal more damage. And another trait is Tough, again, extra physical protection. It's okay in the early game, but is it going to be an amazing trait? Probably not. C tier. Nightmare mounts. Extra mounts that provide morale damage? Probably not. In my experience, dealing morale damage, the best way to deal extra morale damage is just to kill units, and the more units you kill, the better. Just providing morale debuff by standing nearby to some units is not going to be an amazing trait. Now spiders, I'm going to rank spiders A tier because of their ability to shoot web. Now the web ability deals damage in 1 hex radius, pretty good, and also have a chance of immobilizing units, which is amazing. So that's why it's A tier. Unicorns, B tier. Phasing is okay, but it's not going to help you a lot in the early game, unlike the spider mounts. Same goes with the wolf mounts. Now I'm going to discuss the mind traits. The mind traits, the first trait is Adaptable. Adaptable provides extra 30% experience to all of your units. It's okay, nothing amazing, C tier. Good to have your units more experienced, but it's not going to help you a lot in my opinion. Now Arcane Focus, extra 15% damage from magic attacks. If you have a lot of units and you intend that most of them will deal damage through magic, yeah, maybe. But it's okay trait, but not amazing. Next one trait is Cold-Blooded. Now Cold-Blooded, it's a bad trait. Here's why. You will get a lot of minus morale when your units die, and the more units your units die, the worse is going to be. So it basically, if you are losing, you are going to lose slightly less. That's why it's not a good trade, if you understand me, because it's not going to help you to make a lose a win. It's rather going to make a lose slightly less hurtful. If that makes sense, it's just a not good trade. Next trade is defensive tactics. I'm going to put a B tier. I mean, it's okay because it provides defense to a lot of additional targets. Because the way it works, it provides extra defense and resistance to units that stand together. So it will provide extra protection. Just one. It's not going to help you, but if you specialize in defense, maybe it will bump up your numbers high enough. But if you're taking it without some other protection trait from the body trait, I don't think it will be useful for you. So it's highly situational, in my opinion. Highly situational, but also useful. That's why I rate it so highly in B tier. The next trait is elusive. Provides 6 defense and resistance against retaliation attacks and opportunity attacks. C tier. Now, yes, it does provide a lot of protection, but honestly, it's not going to be helpful because of these two reasons. The reason one is usually you don't want the defending unit to make any retaliation attacks at all. So in a way, you specialize your attacking units in such a way that they deal tons of damage and break retaliation mode. Or you don't rely on breaking your units when you hit them the first time, and in that case, it doesn't matter if you have extra protection for retaliation, you just specialize in something more useful. Because in that case, your units are not going to punch through, but rather show as a midfield, a front line. So it's not going to be that useful because they're more going to be specialized in defense. The next trait is fast initiative, provides extra 2 hexes in the first turn of combat. I'm going to rate this a D tier because, again, not going to be useful in the early game, probably at all. It's not extra 2 hex is not going to win you a game, in my opinion. And later in game, yes, potentially useful, especially you specialize in army in like a horde, melee focused, but still, because it's not useful in the early game, in my opinion, I'm going to rate it as garbage D tier. The next trait is ferocious. Now, ferocious, I'm going to put it in B tier. It's okay defensive trait. Because it's defensive, it's again highly situational. 40% is a lot, but you have to find a way to increase your retaliation attacks, find a way that you are going to gain against units that don't break retaliation. So it's situational, but useful. That's why it's B tier. Maybe C tier, but I like these traits, so I'm going to put in B tier. Now the next trait is overwhelm tactics. Plus 20 critical hit chance when standing next to a friendly unit with the same tactic. That, in my opinion, S tier. Extra critical hit chance is amazing, always useful. It just grants a lot of extra damage, especially to ranged units. And the reason is that because ranged units heavily rely on accuracy, and if you crit, it doesn't matter what accuracy you have. So it's just straightforward, amazing trait, good to use. Next one is sneaky. Sneaky, I'm going to put it A tier. It also does extra damage, amazing, but situational. You have to make it happen. Like overwhelming tactics is much easier to perform because you just need to stand next to a unit. Flanking, you need to provide slightly more setup to make this trait work. So It's good. It's amazing, but it's slightly more difficult to exercise. That's why it's just A tier. Now the next trait, tenacious. Very good trait. Again, very useful if you specialize skirmish, melee, focus, horde type units. I'm going to put it A tier, maybe, probably S tier as well. I don't know. But my personal preference, probably A tier. Very solid trait because it makes your units much more efficient in battle because they're better at dealing damage even after taking some damage. Now the next few traits are kinda okay. First of all, Arctic adaptation. I don't see anything useful about this trait. Just starting the Arctic terrain. Nothing particular interesting. Same as desert terrain. But underground terrain, I'm going to put it S tier. Now the reason for that is that it's situational in some sense, but it does provide you much more control and much more choice over your placement. The way it works is that there are special tiles that you can excavate, and depending what you excavate, it can be a passage into another place. It can be a way to open new underground passage, for example. It can be a way to a new free city. It can be a way towards another player, or it can be a way to receive extra resources because when you excavate, there is a chance for extra resources to appear, or there is a chance of a stack to appear which will invade your city. Now, the stack that appears is fairly strong, quite hard to deal with, but if you are skilled enough or you have a very good early game army, this stack basically provides you extra experience. So I feel like starting in the underground is amazing because you can get a lot of extra free experience and extra resources because of excavate And if you know where you're going to excavate, you basically have an opportunity to customize your starting position even more by not excavating and not choosing opening certain path. You basically providing extra protection for yourself for some time from enemy AI player, for an example. Because if they are not going to excavate, you're not going to excavate, you're safe. Or you excavate and provide extra passage to another place. It's just so good. It's random, but it's good. It's amazing. I personally prefer this trait because it allows you to excavate and get extra resources or wipe out another stack, because when an enemy army spawns, it goes straight to your city. You don't need to search it. So it feels amazing. It's like extra experience for nothing. That's why S tier trait. Now, the last trait is called water adaptation. I'm not 100% sure yet how it works, but my understanding is that always places you, if possible, near water. Now, if you have a trait that allows you to get access to seafaring in the early game, I think is a solid okay trait, because it means you are able to travel seas, but nobody else for some time in the early game, mostly. And because of that, you are able to pick up all those extra experience and resources in the sea while nobody else have access to it. That's why to me it's a solid A trait. I haven't played enough with this trait to get it like better or worse ranking, but I think it's a solid A tier because of the extra access to sea in the early game. Now, I'm not sure yet. If you have different opinion, please provide me. Please prove me wrong if I actually provided inaccurate information. I want to know your opinion. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.